Dr. Elena Rodriguez stared at the screen in disbelief. The numbers made no sense. After 3 years of monitoring human brain patterns at Kepler Station, she had never seen anything like this. The wave readings from the neural scanner showed something impossible. Every human being in the station was thinking in perfect harmony. She called her colleague over to the main console. Dr. Marcus Webb walked across the lab with his usual skeptical expression. He had worked with Elena for 5 years and knew her reputation for finding patterns where none existed. This time felt different, though. Elena's hands were shaking as she pointed at the data stream. "Look at this, Marcus. Every single person on this station is showing identical brainwave patterns. Not similar, identical, down to the microsecond." Timing. Marcus adjusted his glasses and leaned closer to the display. The green lines moved across the screen like synchronized dancers. Each peak and valley matched perfectly across all 200 humans aboard the research station. He frowned and checked the equipment calibration. Everything appeared normal. "The scanners must be malfunctioning, Elena. This is impossible. Human brains don't work like this. We're individuals, not a hive mind." Elena shook her head and pulled up historical data from the past week. The synchronization had started 3 days ago. Before that, the patterns looked normal, random, individual, but something had changed. Something fundamental. "Marcus, I've run every diagnostic test available. The equipment is working perfectly. This is real." Across the galaxy, Commander Jake Morrison received an urgent message on the bridge of his exploration vessel, Aurora. The communication came directly from Earth Command, marked with the highest priority coding. Jake had been patrolling the Outer Rim territories for 6 months without any significant incidents. His crew of 45 humans had been conducting routine surveys of uninhabited systems. The message contents made Jake read it twice. Reports were coming in from every human colony and ship in known space. People were exhibiting unusual behaviors, solving complex problems instantly, predicting equipment failures before they happened, understanding alien languages without translation devices. Lieutenant Sarah Kim approached the commander's chair with a concerned expression. She had been monitoring communications from nearby systems, and the reports were getting stranger by the hour. "Sir, we're receiving similar reports from the mining colonies in the Centauri system. Workers are somehow knowing exactly where to dig for rare minerals. They're finding deposits that should take weeks of geological surveys to locate." Jake stood up and walked to the main view screen. The stars looked the same as always, cold and distant, but something in the universe had changed. He could feel it in his bones. A tingling sensation that had started 3 days ago and was getting stronger. "Sarah, run a full scan of our crew. Check everyone's vital signs and brain activity. I want to know if we're experiencing the same phenomena." The medical bay of the Aurora soon filled with crew members reporting strange experiences. Engineer Pete Collins described suddenly understanding the ship's quantum drive systems in ways that should have taken years of study. Navigation officer Lisa Park had been plotting courses through space lanes she had never seen before, somehow knowing they were safe passages. Dr. Martinez, the ship's medical officer, reviewed the brain scans with growing amazement. Every single crew member showed the same synchronized patterns that Elena Rodriguez had discovered at Kepler Station. But there was more. The human brain was utilizing sections that had been dormant for centuries. Areas that scientists had labeled as evolutionary remnants were now active and pulsing with energy. On the diplomatic station orbiting Proxima Centauri, Ambassador Lisa Chun found herself in the most difficult meeting of her career. Representatives from 12 different alien species had requested an emergency session. The Zephyrian Council members sat around the curved table with expressions of growing concern. The lead delegate, a tall being with crystalline features, spoke in carefully measured tones. "Ambassador Chun, our scientists have been monitoring human colonies throughout this sector. Your species is exhibiting capabilities that concern us greatly. We need explanations." Lisa had been expecting this conversation. Reports from human settlements had been flooding her office for days. Farmers were growing crops in impossible soil conditions. Engineers were building structures that defied known physics. Children were solving mathematical equations that challenged artificial intelligence systems. Honored delegates, we are investigating these developments ourselves. Humanity appears to be experiencing a natural evolutionary phase. We pose no threat to any of your worlds. The Andromedan representative, a being covered in flowing robes, leaned forward. Natural evolution does not happen this quickly, Ambassador. Your species has changed more in the past week than most civilizations change in millennia. This is not natural. Back at Kepler Station, Elena Rodriguez made a discovery that would change everything. Deep within the synchronized brain patterns, she found something that shouldn't exist. Hidden sequences that matched no known human genetic markers. Code that appeared to be artificially embedded in human DNA. She called Marcus over to review her findings. The data showed that every human carried dormant genetic sequences that were now becoming active. The sequences contained information. Complex instructions that were rewriting human neural pathways in real time. Marcus, this isn't evolution, this is activation. Someone or something programmed these sequences into human DNA long ago. They're turning on now for a reason. Marcus stared at the genetic data with growing alarm. The implications were staggering. Humanity hadn't evolved naturally. They had been designed, modified, prepared for something that was now beginning to unfold. The synchronized brain patterns weren't random. They were following a specific program. A program that was transforming humanity into something beyond their original biological limits. Something that the rest of the galaxy was beginning to fear. Elena saved her research and prepared to send it to Earth Command. The universe was about to learn that humanity was not what they appeared to be. The question was whether that would be seen as a blessing or a curse by the species that shared the galaxy with them. Dr. Elena Rodriguez spent the next week diving deeper into the genetic sequences she had discovered. The dormant DNA sections were unlike anything in human evolutionary history. They contained mathematical patterns that matched stellar formations and quantum field equations. Each sequence appeared to be a blueprint for abilities that should be impossible for biological organisms. Marcus Webb worked alongside her, running tests on volunteer crew members. The results were consistent and terrifying. The genetic activation was accelerating. Humans were developing capabilities that broke every known law of physics. Yesterday, maintenance worker Tony Blake had repaired a quantum generator by simply touching it. He couldn't explain how he knew what to do. Elena, look at this brain scan from Lieutenant Parker. Her neural activity is off the charts. She's processing information at rates that should be impossible for organic brain tissue. Elena studied the scan results. The human brain was rewiring itself in real time. New neural pathways were forming faster than they could be mapped. The synchronized patterns she had first detected were becoming more complex, more purposeful. Marcus, I think we're looking at this wrong. This isn't random evolution. Someone designed these sequences to activate under specific conditions. The question is who and why. Captain Ryan Torres commanded the deep space archaeological vessel Pioneer. His mission was to explore ancient ruins on distant worlds, searching for clues about extinct civilizations. 3 months ago, his team had discovered something on the planet Kepler 442b that had been classified at the highest levels. The ruins were old, older than any civilization in the known galaxy. The structures were built from materials that shouldn't exist according to current science. But the most disturbing discovery was the inscriptions. They matched human genetic markers with perfect accuracy. Dr. Amy Foster, the team's archaeologist, had been studying the symbols for weeks. Each marking corresponded to sequences found in human DNA. The ancient builders had somehow known about humanity millions of years before humans existed. Captain, these inscriptions aren't just random symbols. They're manual instructions for genetic modification? Someone was preparing humanity for something. Ryan Torres felt a chill run down his spine. The implications were staggering. An ancient civilization had reached across time to modify human evolution. They had embedded instructions in human DNA that were now activating. Dr. Foster, have you been able to translate what the modifications are supposed to accomplish? Amy pointed to a section of wall covered in complex symbols. From what I can understand, the modifications are designed to create defenders, beings capable of protecting something precious. The inscriptions mention a cosmic threat that previous civilizations couldn't stop. Meanwhile, the alien response to humanity's transformation was swift and coordinated. The Andromedan Federation began mobilizing military assets along human territory. Borders, their High Coordinator issued secret orders to prepare for containment operations. The crystalline hegemony started economic sanctions against human colonies. The Zephyrian Council called emergency sessions to discuss the human problem. Ambassador Lisa Shun found herself in increasingly hostile meetings. The alien representatives were no longer hiding their fear. They spoke openly about the need to control humanity before they became too powerful to contain. Ambassador Shun, your species has violated the fundamental laws of biological development. No species should be able to evolve this rapidly. We must understand how this is possible and ensure it stops. Lisa maintained her diplomatic composure, but she could see the fear in their eyes. Fear that humanity was becoming something beyond their ability to understand or control on human colonies throughout the galaxy. Ordinary people were discovering extraordinary abilities. Farmer Joe Mitchell in the Tau Ceti system was growing crops that could survive in any environment. His plants were adapting to hostile conditions in ways that should take thousands of years of evolution. Teacher Mary Collins on the Luna colony was watching her students solve complex physics problems without any prior training. The children seemed to understand concepts that challenged university professors. They were learning alien languages by listening to broadcasts for just a few hours. Mechanic Susan Price was repairing spacecraft using techniques that didn't exist in any manual. She could look at a broken engine and immediately know how to fix it. Her repairs were improving the ships beyond their original specifications. Dr. Marcus Webb made a breakthrough that changed everything. The genetic sequences weren't just random instructions, they were connected to galactic conditions. The activation was triggered by specific cosmic events. Solar radiation patterns, gravitational waves, and quantum field fluctuations all played a role. Elena, the activation isn't random. It's a response to something happening in the galaxy. These sequences are designed to activate when the galaxy faces a specific type of threat. Elena looked at the data with growing understanding. The ancient civilization that had modified human DNA had been preparing for something. They had created a fail-safe mechanism that would activate when needed. Humanity was that fail-safe. Marcus, we need to find out what threat the ancients were preparing for. If these modifications are activating now, it means that threat is coming. The synchronization between humans was strengthening. People separated by light years were having similar thoughts and making identical discoveries. It was as if humanity was becoming a single organism spread across the galaxy. Admiral Kate Sullivan, commanding the Earth Defense Fleet, received reports that chilled her to the bone. Alien military forces were gathering at the edges of human space. Multiple species were forming alliances despite centuries of mistrust between them. They all had one goal: containing humanity before the transformation completed. Admiral, we're detecting massive fleet movements in the Vega sector. The Andromedans have assembled over 3,000 ships. The crystalline hegemony has joined them with their battle cruisers. They're calling it the containment protocol. Kate studied the tactical displays. Humanity was outnumbered by hundreds to one. But the reports from human colonies suggested that numbers might not matter anymore. Human defenders were demonstrating abilities that made conventional warfare obsolete. Dr. Elena Rodriguez made her final discovery of the week. The genetic sequences contained a countdown. The modifications were building toward a specific event, a moment when humanity would complete their transformation and become something entirely new. Marcus, according to these calculations, we have less than 6 months before the transformation reaches completion. After that, humanity will be something the galaxy has never seen before. The question was whether the galaxy would allow humanity to reach that point. The alien fleets gathering at the borders suggested they had already made their decision. The cosmic threat that no one could contain was about to face the ultimate test. The economic warfare began without warning. Human colonies across the galaxy woke up to find their trade routes blocked by crystalline hegemony ships. Supply shipments were turned away at alien ports. Communication channels were jammed or cut entirely. The message was clear. Humanity was being isolated. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood in the command center of the Earth Defense Fleet, watching the tactical displays with growing concern. Red markers indicated hostile alien forces surrounding human territories. The containment protocol was no longer a secret. Multiple species had openly declared their intention to prevent humanity's transformation from completing. Admiral, we're receiving distress calls from the mining colonies in the Kepler system. Andromedan forces have established a blockade. They're not allowing any ships to enter or leave the system. Kate studied the deployment patterns. The aliens were using classic isolation tactics. Cut off supplies, communications, and reinforcements. Force the target into submission through economic pressure. But they didn't understand what humanity was becoming. Prepare the fleet for immediate deployment. We're going to break that blockade. Dr. Elena Rodriguez had been working without sleep for 3 days. Her research into the genetic sequences had revealed something that made her hands shake. The transformation wasn't just about individual abilities. It was about connection. Humanity was becoming something that could work together in ways that no other species could imagine. Marcus, look at these neural patterns. Humans in different star systems are sharing thoughts and experiences in real time. The synchronization is creating a network that spans the entire galaxy. Marcus Webb examined the data with amazement. The quantum entanglement between human minds was growing stronger every day. People were reporting shared dreams, simultaneous discoveries, and coordinated actions across impossible distances. Elena, if this continues, humanity will become a single organism spread across the galaxy. No wonder the aliens are terrified. Dr. Alex Turner, Elena's new research partner, had been analyzing the archaeological data from Captain Torres' expedition. The ancient inscriptions were becoming clearer as humanity's transformation progressed. It was as if the genetic modifications were providing the key to understanding the alien writing. Elena, I've decoded more of the inscriptions. The ancient civilization that modified human DNA faced something they called the Void Devourers, entities that consumed entire star systems. They created humanity as a weapon that could adapt and fight back. Elena felt a chill run through her body. The threat that had caused the ancients to modify human DNA was still out there. The genetic sequences were activating because that threat was returning. Lieutenant Colonel Sam Harrison led a reconnaissance mission to the galaxy's edge. His small fleet of stealth ships had been observing the massive alien forces gathering in the outer systems. What he discovered there would change everything. Command, we're detecting anomalous readings at the galactic rim. There are structures out here that don't match any known civilization. They're massive, bigger than anything we've ever seen. The structures were dark and seemed to absorb light itself. They moved through space with purpose, consuming everything. In their path, stars were going out. Entire systems were disappearing. The Void Devourers were returning. Sam, get your ships back to human space immediately. We need to warn everyone about what's coming. The alien coalition was so focused on containing humanity that they had missed the real threat approaching from beyond the galaxy. The Void Devourers were already consuming outer rim systems. The ancient enemy had returned. Captain Jake Morrison's exploration vessel Aurora had been upgraded by its human crew in ways that defied explanation. The ship's systems were evolving. New defensive capabilities were appearing without any conscious design. The crew was unconsciously improving their vessel through direct neural interface. Captain, we're receiving multiple distress calls from the Vega sector. Alien military forces are demanding that all human ships surrender for inspection. They want to study our crew members. Jake looked at his bridge crew. Each person showed the signs of transformation. Enhanced intelligence, intuitive understanding of complex systems, and an awareness that extended beyond normal human senses. They were becoming something new. Navigation, plot a course for the Vega sector. We're going to show these aliens what humanity has become. The first confrontation came sooner than expected. Admiral Sullivan's fleet encountered the Andromedan blockade around the Kepler mining colonies. The alien forces outnumbered the human ships 50-1. By all conventional military calculations, humanity should have been destroyed. Instead, something impossible happened. The human ships began moving in perfect coordination. They predicted enemy attacks before they were launched. Their weapons struck targets with impossible accuracy. Their defensive systems adapted to each new threat in real time. Admiral, the enemy fleet is breaking formation. They can't predict our movements. It's like we're fighting with a single mind. The Andromedan commander watched in horror as his superior force was outmaneuvered by a handful of human ships. The humans were fighting with capabilities that shouldn't exist. Their ships were evolving during the battle itself. Dr. Elena Rodriguez received the battle reports with understanding. The genetic sequences weren't just creating individual abilities. They were creating a collective intelligence that could coordinate across vast distances. Humanity was becoming a single organism with millions of bodies. Marcus, the transformation is accelerating. The conflict with the alien forces is triggering defensive responses in the genetic code. Humanity is adapting to warfare in real time. The news of the human victory at Kepler spread through the galaxy like wildfire. Alien governments that had been confident in their ability to contain humanity suddenly faced a terrifying reality. The humans were not just evolving. They were becoming something that could fight back. The crystalline hegemony's trade embargo was failing. Human colonies were finding ways to survive without alien support. They were developing new technologies that made them self-sufficient. The isolation tactics were making humanity stronger, not weaker. Dr. Alex Turner made a final discovery that revealed the true scope of the ancient plan. The genetic modifications weren't just about fighting the void devourers. They were about preparing humanity to protect the entire galaxy. The ancients had created guardians who could adapt to any threat. Elena, the inscriptions describe humanity's final form. When the transformation completes, humans will be able to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. They'll be able to fight threats that normal matter can't even touch. The gathering storm was reaching its peak. Alien forces were massing for a final assault on human space. The void devourers were consuming systems at the galaxy's edge, and humanity was transforming into something that could stand against both threats. The question was whether the galaxy would survive long enough for humanity to complete their transformation. The cosmic threat that no one could contain was about to face the ultimate test of their new abilities. Dr. Elena Rodriguez felt the change happening inside her own mind. The genetic sequences were no longer just data on her screens. They were living instructions rewriting her neural pathways in real time. She could see patterns in the universe that had been invisible before. Mathematical relationships that connected quantum mechanics to stellar formation. The transformation was accelerating beyond all predictions. Marcus, I'm experiencing the changes myself now. I can see how the galaxy works, how energy flows between stars, how consciousness affects quantum fields. This isn't just evolution, it's enlightenment. Marcus Webb watched his colleague with growing amazement and concern. Elena's brain scans showed activity levels that should have been impossible for organic tissue. New neural pathways were forming faster than the equipment could track. Her eyes had developed a strange quality, as if she was seeing things that existed beyond normal perception. Elena, your brain is processing information at rates that rival our most advanced computers. The transformation is accelerating in all of us. I can feel it too. Across the galaxy, ordinary humans were discovering extraordinary abilities. Farmer Joe Mitchell on the agricultural world of New Kansas was growing crops that could thrive in any environment. His plants were adapting to hostile conditions in real time. Soil that should have been barren was producing harvests that defied? Botanical science. Nurse Carol Stevens at the medical facility on Luna Base was healing patients with methods that shouldn't work. She would place her hands on injured people and somehow know exactly what was wrong. Broken bones mended in hours, instead of weeks. Diseases that had no cure were disappearing. Dr. Martinez, I don't understand what's happening to me. I can see inside people's bodies. I know how to fix things that medical school never taught us about. The human colonies were becoming self-sufficient in ways that terrified the alien. Observers, technology was evolving without conscious design. Ships were upgrading themselves. Defensive systems were appearing that could adapt to any threat. The isolation tactics were making humanity stronger instead of weaker. Captain Jake Morrison's exploration vessel Aurora had become something beyond its original design. The ship's systems were responding to the crew's thoughts. New capabilities were emerging that violated known laws of physics. The vessel could now create energy shields that adapted to any weapon fired at them. Sarah, run a full diagnostic on all ship systems. I want to understand what we're becoming. Lieutenant Sarah Kim reviewed the results with confusion. Sir, the ship's computer can't explain half of these new systems. They're operating on principles that don't exist in our databases. It's like the ship is thinking for itself. The alien coalition was preparing for their final assault. The Andromedan Federation had assembled the largest military force in galactic history. 3 million ships from dozens of species were gathering at the borders of human space. The crystalline hegemony had contributed their most advanced weapons. The Zephyrian Council had provided tactical coordination. Ambassador Lisa Chun received the final ultimatum during an emergency session of the Galactic Council. The alien representatives no longer bothered with diplomatic language. Their fear had turned to desperation. Ambassador Chun, your species has become a threat to galactic stability. We demand that all enhanced humans be surrendered for protective custody. If you refuse, we will be forced to take action. Lisa looked around the chamber at the faces of beings who had once been allies. Fear had replaced reason. They were so focused on containing humanity that they couldn't see the real threat approaching from beyond the galaxy. Honored delegates, humanity poses no threat to your worlds. We are becoming something that can protect all of us. The Void Devourers are returning. You should be working with us, not against us. The alien representatives dismissed her warnings. They had made their decision. The containment protocol would be implemented with overwhelming force. Humanity would be stopped before their transformation completed. Dr. Alex Turner had been working with the archaeological team to decode more of the ancient inscriptions. The results were both fascinating and terrifying. The previous civilizations that had faced the Void Devourers had all failed. Humanity was their final attempt to create defenders that could adapt to any threat. Elena, the inscriptions describe. What happens when the transformation completes? Humans will be able to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. They'll be able to manipulate quantum fields through conscious intent. The ancients created the ultimate adaptive species. Elena Rodriguez felt the truth of those words resonating in her changing mind. She could sense other humans across the galaxy. Their thoughts and experiences were becoming part of a collective consciousness that spanned light years. Individual identity remained, but it was now part of something much larger. Alex, we're becoming a network. A single organism with millions of bodies. The synchronization isn't just brain patterns. It's the emergence of a galactic mind. The alien military forces began their assault 3 days earlier than planned. Intelligence reports suggested that humanity's transformation was accelerating beyond their ability to contain. The window for successful intervention was closing rapidly. Admiral Kate Sullivan watched the tactical displays as wave after wave of alien ships entered human space. The numbers were overwhelming. Conventional military strategy would have called for immediate surrender. But humanity was no longer bound by conventional limitations. All ships implement collective tactical protocol. Let the network guide your actions. The human fleet began moving with impossible coordination. Ships separated by light years were executing maneuvers in perfect synchronization. Their weapons were striking targets with accuracy that defied the laws of physics. Their defensive systems were adapting to each new threat before the aliens could adjust their tactics. The Andromedan fleet commander watched in horror as his superior force was systematically outmaneuvered. The humans weren't just predicting his moves. They were responding to attacks that hadn't been launched yet. Their ships were evolving during the battle itself. How are they doing this? Our tactical computers can't track their movement patterns. It's like they're fighting with the knowledge of future events. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, now functioning as part of humanity's collective consciousness while maintaining her individual identity, understood what was happening. The genetic modifications weren't just creating new abilities. They were allowing humans to perceive time differently. Past, present, and future were becoming fluid concepts. Marcus, we're not just evolving. We're transcending the normal limitations of biological existence. The ancients created something that could fight threats from outside normal space-time. The first phase of the alien assault was failing. Human colonies that should have been easily conquered were defending themselves with technology that evolved faster than the attackers could adapt. The isolation tactics had backfired. Humanity was becoming something that didn't need the rest of the galaxy to survive, but the real test was yet to come. Reports from the galaxy's edge confirmed that the Void Devourers were accelerating their approach. Entire star systems were disappearing. The ancient enemy that had destroyed previous civilizations was almost upon them. The alien coalition was about to discover that their greatest fear had become their only hope for survival. The cosmic threat that no one could contain was transforming into the galaxy's last line of defense. Humanity rejected the alien ultimatum with a single voice that echoed across the galaxy. Every human being, from the research stations to the farming colonies, spoke the same words at the same moment. The collective consciousness had fully emerged. Individual minds remained distinct, but were now part of something infinitely larger. Dr. Elena Rodriguez felt her awareness expand beyond the confines of Kepler Station. She could perceive the thoughts and experiences of humans on distant worlds. The quantum entanglement between human minds had created a network that transcended space and time. Knowledge and insights flowed freely between all members of the species. Marcus, we're not losing our individuality. We're gaining something more. I can still think my own thoughts, but I also have access to the wisdom of our entire species. Every discovery, every insight, every piece of knowledge is shared instantly. Marcus Webb experienced the same expansion of consciousness. The fear he had felt about losing his identity dissolved as he realized that becoming part of the network actually enhanced who he was. He was still Marcus Webb, but he was also connected to the greatest minds humanity had ever produced, the alien military. Forces discovered that attacking humans had become like fighting the galaxy itself. Every human ship seemed to know where attacks would come from before they were launched. Their defensive systems adapted faster than alien weapons could be modified. Their strategic thinking operated on levels that confused even the most advanced. Artificial intelligence systems. Commander Jake Morrison's fleet had grown to over 300 vessels. Ships from across human space had joined his formation through the collective guidance of the network. They moved with impossible precision, their actions coordinated by a consciousness that spanned light years. Sarah, the aliens are using quantum displacement weapons. Our shields are adapting automatically. The ship knows how to defend against attacks that haven't been invented yet. Lieutenant Sarah Kim watched in amazement as their vessel's systems evolved in real time. New defensive technologies were appearing faster than she could catalog them. The ship was becoming something beyond its original design, guided by the collective intelligence of its human crew. Dr. Alex Turner, working with the archaeological team, made the final breakthrough in translating the ancient inscriptions. The complete message revealed the true scope of the threat that had caused the ancients to modify human DNA. The Void Devourers weren't just consuming matter. They were erasing the fundamental forces that held reality together. Elena, the Ancient. Civilization faced an enemy that could unmake the laws of physics themselves. The Void Devourers don't just destroy star systems. They remove them from existence entirely. That's why conventional weapons and defenses are useless against them. Elena Rodriguez, now functioning as a node in humanity's collective consciousness, understood the implications. The genetic modifications weren't just about creating powerful individuals. They were about creating beings who could exist outside normal reality. Humans who could fight threats that normal matter couldn't even touch. The alien coalition's assault reached its peak as millions of ships converged on human space. The Andromedan Federation committed their entire military force. The crystalline hegemony deployed weapons that could shatter planets. The Zephyrian Council coordinated the largest military operation in galactic history. Admiral Kate Sullivan commanded the human defense from her flagship, but she was no longer operating as a single individual. Her tactical decisions were informed by the collective intelligence of every human in the galaxy. The network provided her with insights and strategies that no individual mind could have conceived. All human vessels implement Dimensional Defense Protocol. We're going to show the galaxy what we've become. The human ships began demonstrating capabilities that defied every known law of physics. They existed in multiple dimensional states simultaneously. Alien weapons passed through them without causing damage, while human weapons struck their targets with perfect accuracy. The battle was being fought on levels that the alien forces couldn't even perceive. The Andromedan fleet commander watched his forces being systematically destroyed by an enemy that seemed to exist partially outside normal space. Human ships would appear from nowhere, strike with impossible precision, and disappear before return fire could be coordinated. How are they doing this? Our sensors can't track their dimensional signatures. They're fighting us from outside our reality. The turning point came when the first Void Devourer emerged at the galaxy's edge. The massive entity began consuming star systems with methodical efficiency. Entire solar systems simply ceased to exist as the creature fed on the fundamental forces that held them together. Elena Rodriguez felt the collective consciousness of humanity react to the new threat. The network's attention turned from the alien military forces to the approaching Void Devourers. Suddenly, the genetic modification's true purpose became clear. Humanity had been designed specifically to fight this ancient enemy. Marcus, the Void Devourers are why we exist. Everything that's happening to us, all the abilities we're developing, they're weapons designed to fight an enemy that exists outside normal reality. The alien military forces detected the Void Devourers' emergence and realized their terrible mistake. While they had been focused on containing humanity, the real threat had been approaching unnoticed. Their fleets were equipped to fight conventional enemies, not entities that could erase matter from existence. The crystalline hegemony's weapons, designed to shatter planets, had no effect on the Void Devourer. The entity simply absorbed the energy and continued its advance. Star systems along the galaxy's rim were disappearing at an accelerating rate. Commander Jake Morrison received new orders through the collective consciousness. The human fleet was to abandon the defense of human space and engage the Void Devourers directly. The network had determined that conventional military tactics would be useless against the ancient enemy. All ships, plot a course for the galactic rim. We're going to do what we were designed for. The human vessels began moving toward the approaching Void Devourers with technologies that had evolved beyond alien understanding. Their ships could now exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, making them capable of engaging enemies that normal matter couldn't touch. Dr. Alex Turner watched the tactical displays with understanding. The ancient civilization's plan was finally being implemented. Humanity had been created as the galaxy's immune system, designed to activate when faced with threats that conventional defenses couldn't handle. The alien coalition's assault on human space began to collapse as their forces encountered the Void Devourers. Ships that had been attacking human colonies suddenly found themselves facing an enemy that could erase them from existence with a thought. The creatures that had once feared humanity now desperately needed their protection. The Andromedan High Coordinator sent urgent communications to Ambassador Lisa Chun, requesting immediate assistance. The pride and fear that had driven the containment protocol evaporated in the face of an enemy that made their worst fears about humanity seem trivial. Ambassador Chung, we need your help. Our weapons are useless against these entities. Only humanity seems capable of fighting them. Lisa Chun responded with the collective wisdom of her species. We told you the real threat was coming. Now you understand why we exist. The cosmic threat that you couldn't contain is about to become your salvation. The stage was set for the final confrontation. Humanity had completed their transformation into beings, capable of defending the galaxy against threats from outside reality itself. The ancient enemy had returned, but this time they would face defenders who had been specifically designed to stop them. The ancient threat revealed itself in its full horror as more void devourers emerged from the darkness beyond the galaxy. They were not ships or creatures in any sense that living beings could understand. They were holes in reality itself, spaces, where the fundamental forces of the universe simply stopped working. Stars went out not because they were destroyed, but because they ceased to exist. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, now functioning as part of humanity's collective consciousness while maintaining her individual identity, helped coordinate the galaxy's defense. From Kepler Station, her awareness extended across light years as she guided the human response to the cosmic threat. The network allowed her to process information from thousands of sources simultaneously while still being Elena Rodriguez. Marcus, the void devourers aren't destroying matter. They're removing it from existence entirely. That's why the alien weapons have no effect. You can't fight something that exists outside the laws of physics. Marcus Webb, also connected to the collective consciousness, understood the scope of the challenge they faced. The ancient enemy operated on principles that normal matter couldn't comprehend. Only beings who could transcend reality's limitations had any hope of stopping them. Captain Jake Morrison led the human fleet toward the galactic rim where the void devourers were consuming entire star systems. His ships moved through dimensions that didn't exist for other species. The human vessels could now phase in and out of normal space-time, making them capable of engaging enemies that conventional forces couldn't even perceive. Sarah, our ships are operating in quantum states that shouldn't be possible. We're existing in multiple realities simultaneously. The collective consciousness is guiding us through dimensional spaces that normal matter can't access. The first engagement between humanity and the void devourers took place in a region where 3 star systems had recently been erased from existence. The human fleet approached the entities using tactics that had been embedded in their genetic code millions of years ago. They fought battles that occurred across multiple dimensions at once, Commander. Morrison's vessel phased through normal space and engaged a void devourer in a realm where thoughts became weapons and consciousness shaped reality. The human crew worked as a single organism, their individual minds, contributing to strategies that no single intelligence could have conceived. The battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. Human ships would appear from nowhere, strike at the void devourers with weapons made of concentrated willpower, and disappear before the entities could respond. The fight was happening on levels that even advanced alien sensors couldn't detect. Dr. Alex Turner, studying the battle from the archaeological site, watched humanity implement the ancient plan that had been embedded in their DNA. The humans were fighting exactly as the inscriptions had predicted. They were using abilities that transcended the normal limitations of biological existence. Elena, the humans are winning. They're actually pushing the void devourers back. The ancient civilization's plan is working. The alien species that had tried to contain humanity watched in amazement as the cosmic threat they had feared became their salvation. The Andromedan Federation's ships hung helplessly in space while human vessels fought enemies that could erase matter from existence. The crystalline hegemony's weapons were useless against foes that existed outside normal reality. Ambassador Lisa Chun received desperate communications from alien governments throughout the galaxy, the same species that had demanded humanity's Surrender now begged for protection. Fear had given way to gratitude as they realized that humanity's transformation had been necessary for everyone's survival. Ambassador Chun, we were wrong about your species. We see now that you were never a threat to us. You were created to protect us all. Please, help us defend our worlds. Lisa responded with the collective wisdom of humanity. We bear no grudge against those who feared us. Fear of the unknown is natural. Now we work together to save the galaxy from an enemy that none of us could face alone. The turning point came when humanity demonstrated their ultimate capability, Dr. Elena Rodriguez. Working through the collective consciousness, coordinated an attack that struck the Void Devourers across multiple dimensions simultaneously. Thousands of human vessels phased into quantum states that existed outside normal spacetime and attacked the entities on their own level, the Void Devourers, which had consumed entire civilizations without resistance, found themselves facing an enemy that could match their transdimensional existence. Humanity fought with weapons made of pure consciousness and shields forged from collective willpower. The battle raged across realities that normal matter couldn't perceive. Marcus Webb watched the engagement from Kepler Station as humanity's genetic programming reached its full potential. Elena, we're not just fighting them. We're actually winning. The ancient modifications are working exactly as designed. The human fleet began systematically destroying the void, devourers using tactics that had been encoded in their DNA millions of years ago. Each victory strengthened humanity's connection to the collective consciousness and enhanced their transdimensional capabilities. The alien governments that had once planned to contain humanity now worked desperately to support the human war effort. Andromedan ships provided logistic support while staying safely in normal space. The crystalline hegemony offered their resources to help supply the human fleet. The Zephyrian Council coordinated evacuation efforts for systems in the Void Devourers path. The final battle took place at the galaxy's center, where the largest Void Devourer had been feeding on the supermassive black hole. Captain Morrison led the combined human fleet in an assault that occurred across 17 different dimensional states simultaneously. The entity fought back with weapons that could unmake reality itself, but humanity had transcended the limitations that made such weapons effective. Dr. Elena Rodriguez felt the moment when humanity achieved complete victory. The last Void Devourer was destroyed not through conventional force, but by being removed from existence in the same way it had destroyed so many worlds. The collective consciousness had learned to fight fire with fire. Marcus, it's over. The Void Devourers are gone. The galaxy is safe. The aftermath brought a new age of cooperation between humanity and the alien species that had once feared them. The cosmic threat that no one could contain had become the force that held the galaxy together. Humanity served as protectors, using their transdimensional abilities to defend against threats that normal matter couldn't fight. Dr. Marcus Webb's final research logs recorded the transformation of galactic civilization. Humanity has become something unprecedented. They are individuals who can function as a collective, beings who exist in multiple dimensions while remaining grounded in physical reality. They are the galaxy's immune system, designed to activate when faced with threats that conventional defenses cannot handle. The galaxy entered a golden age under humanity's protection. The species that had once planned to contain them now worked alongside them as partners and allies. Trade flourished under the security provided by human defenders who could respond to any threat from any dimension. Captain Morrison established patrol routes that covered the entire galaxy with human vessels, monitoring for new threats while maintaining peace between the various alien civilizations. The exploration of new dimensions and realities became humanity's ongoing mission as they searched for other ancient enemies that might still exist. Ambassador Lisa Chun became the coordinator of the new Galactic Alliance, helping species that had been enemies for millennia learn to work together under humanity's protective umbrella. The fear that had once divided the galaxy was replaced by hope and cooperation. The cosmic threat that no one could contain had become the force that saved them all. proving that sometimes the greatest fears become the greatest blessings when viewed from the proper perspective.